Hi friends. Basically, a hazard is the potential for harm or an adverse effect. We have created this video to help you understand the different categories of hazards and where they might be present. The 6 main categories of hazards are: 1. Biological hazards. 2. Chemical hazards. 3. Physical hazards. 4. Unsafe hazards. 5. Ergonomic hazards. 6. Psychosocial hazards. First we explain about biological hazards. Biological hazards include viruses, bacteria, insects, animals, etc., that can cause adverse health impacts. For example, blood and other bodily fluids, harmful plants, sewage, dust and vermin. These health impacts can range from skin and respiratory system irritation, to the transmission of infections. Some biological hazards include blood-borne diseases, including HIV, hepatitis B and C, and malaria. 2. Chemical hazards. Chemical hazards are hazardous substances that can cause harm. These hazards can result in both health and physical impacts, such as skin irritation, respiratory system irritation, blindness, corrosion, and explosions. 3. Physical hazards. Physical hazards are environmental factors that can harm an employee without necessarily touching them, including heights, noise, radiation and pressure. Examples of physical hazards include electricity, fires, confined spaces, extreme temperatures. 4. Unsafe hazards. These are hazards that create unsafe working conditions. Safety hazards can affect any worker, but these are more likely to affect those who work with heavy machinery or on a construction site. These hazards include slips, trips, and falls, electrical hazards, and operating dangerous machinery. Employees that work in the utility sector are more prone to the risk of safety hazards. 5. Ergonomic hazards. Ergonomic hazards affect those employees whose work puts a strain on their bodies. Such manual roles like lifting or sitting for long periods can cause substantial damage over time. Ergonomic hazards may not be noticeable at first, which makes them much harder to detect. If employees use improperly adjusted workstations or have bad posture when performing manual roles and heavy lifting, they may be at risk of injury. 6. Psychosocial hazards. Psychosocial hazards include those that can have an adverse effect on an employee's mental health or well-being. For example, sexual harassment, victimization, stress, and workplace violence. For example, health impacts. Harassment. Workplace aggression and abuse. How can workplace hazards impact employees? Physical injuries. This is the most obvious impact. Hazardous environmental conditions, for example, high temperatures may cause bodily harm. Health complications. From breathing problems to skin irritation to illnesses, the last thing any employer wants is a work environment that makes their staff unwell. Reduced productivity. As more employees request sick leave or take breaks to attend to injuries caused by workplace hazards, production may be halted or delayed. Stress and anxiety. Stress can stem from work overload, retrenchment fears, or the worry of being exposed to physical or chemical hazards within the work environment. Regardless of the cause, any form of employee stress will derail productivity. Low employee retention levels. Besides making employees uncomfortable, workplace hazards reduce staff morale and satisfaction levels. Employers that don't prioritize the safety of their staff members risk losing them to competitors. Policy updating. It's important to ensure your work policies, safety guidelines, and work instructions are updated and include the most relevant information possible. Policy availability. Work instructions, work policies, and safety guidelines are most beneficial when they are accessible to all employees. Ensuring that your office has both digital and physical copies may help to prevent workplace issues. Policy awareness. Regular mandatory training can help remind employees of important policies that help ensure their safety. Rewarding employees with a half day of work to review these policies and undergo training could also boost employee morale. If you neglect your responsibility to protect your employees, you could face financial and/or custodial penalties. Therefore, it's vital that you properly manage all your workplace hazards. This article should have helped you to identify and consider more obscure hazards, but it's important that you take further steps to protect your employees.